Boom. Why do I keep doing it? I guess I get nervous and I feel like I need to make some type of sound when I start a video. But anyway, this is a upload about Breaking Bad, season 5, episode 10, titled Buried. So, of course, every episode starts off where the last one ended, correct? Makes sense. So, Pinkman is... I guess I'll talk about each individual thing. So, Pinkman at this point is pretty much broken, similar to Skyler, Mrs. White, and also, I guess, a past version of this character. So he's back in that really mopey state. But it's definitely more serious than just being sad about not getting your favorite color on Among Us or something like that. It's, he's dealing with a lot. Mr. White manipulated him in order to leave his significant other, his girl, and that kid. Those two individuals are what brought him. Those were rays of sunshine, basically, on a otherwise cloudy day. That is considered to be his life. I guess I'm trying to talk, doing a little too much now. I need to slow down and let my words come out slower. If you haven't noticed by now, a lot of my uploads, I'm stumbling and bumbling with my words. I'm going to admit something. Posting these videos is actually helping me with my speech more than anything. It just so happens, hey, I like watching these shows. I need to work on my speech, so I might as well make a video of it. Now, back to enough of that personal stuff. Back to my reaction / review of this episode. So, like I was saying, Pinkman's pretty much gone at this point. He's throwing money out the window, and at a certain point, he just gives up. And what they did to capture him giving up was so perfectly done. So you got a guy, an older gentleman. He's dressed in obvious work clothes. He's got the hat with the two. He's got the hat with the two sheep or lamb fur cover downs. It's like a Carhartt jacket, if I'm not mistaken, or a Dickies jacket, something like that. Something rough and rugged on the outside, and some type of fur line in there. He gets the same thing in his pants. He's got some worn old boots, and he hops in a very old C10, starts it up, got his lunch pail. It's the stereotypical working man. You know what I'm saying? His whole life he's done that. But the majority of his life he's done that. He turns those headlights on, and when he walks in front of that truck with that look on his face and picks up that stack of money, he's in disbelief. And of course, he probably finds 4 or 5 more stacks of that. Who knows how much that is he has right there, because we don't know the denomination of the money. He's got 4 or 5 stacks. He sees some lights flashing. He walks down to the playground and he finds 2 duffel bags full of money, and somebody spinning on this dang whirly thing. I don't even know I haven't been on a playground in so long. I don't even know what it's called. And the shot of Pinkman coming from the sky, coming down on Pinkman's face as he's spinning around on there, it sums up his whole emotion perfectly. Now, we're going to continue. Of course, we don't know what happens. The viewer doesn't know what happens to him until later on in the episode. So, I guess I don't want to really go in order like that. I want to jump around. It just whatever sparks my imagination, I guess. That's the best way to put it. I don't know what I'm trying to say. But I guess I want to touch on... I have to touch on Mrs. White. Not literally. I don't know. My mind always goes to something like that. But anyway, I wish I could find somebody like her in real life. She's solid. She is a solid individual. This Mrs. White. After all this whole journey, this ups and downs, her being in disbelief, her hating her life, her being lost at one point, she's not saying nothing to Hank. Hank has figured it out, but he doesn't have any proof. That's the thing. He doesn't have any proof. But she's not giving him up either. It escalates to Marie coming around, which is her sister, trying to get an explanation from her. What's going on? Talk to me. Tell me. She's not saying anything. She's speechless, right? This is Mrs. White. So, coincidentally, you have Hank punching. Oh, I gotta sneeze. Oh, shit, bless me. You got Hank punching Mr. White. And then you have Marie, which is Hank's wife, slapping Mrs. White. Kind of odd that would happen. Both of the in-laws are attacking the other in-laws. But for valid reasons, you know. But anyway, somehow she gets in her head that she has to take the child away from her. And she's like, no, what are you doing? But Hank comes in and is like, he knows the law. So he's like, hey, we can't do that. You have to leave that child. And she's pushing him in only in a way that a wife could push. Only in a way that a wife could push her husband. You need to tell. You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to. Go. But he's trying to explain to her without explaining to her, I cannot do this. But they're like, no. She's like, no, you have to do it. So we got that whole situation going on. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I actually like her in purple. I think that tends to be her color. The morada. For my Spanish speakers out there. So, what else happens in this episode? Oh, of course, Mr. White and Hank's, like, they're playing a pretty dangerous game here. I mean, but Hank beat him to the punch and was able to get a hold of Mrs. White, and Mrs. White, she decides to talk to Hank, like in a diner, just to see what was going on, I'm assuming. But, you know, Hank's focused. He's moving really fast. I'd like to think if Hank would have pumped his brakes a little bit and been thought it out more, he probably could have got what he wanted. But by him being so pushy and aggressive towards Mrs. White, it shook her, and she was like, "No, I'm not giving up my family and my husband, and of course the money." I think that's the only reason that she's back on Walt's side at this point. That's the way I feel, because if you think about it, before he started bringing in all that money, she was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this." And, you know, she was fighting for any victory, which was just keeping the kids away. But then all of a sudden, once the amount of money started, the volume of the money started coming up and coming in and coming up, she was like, "No, I have to." She was calmed down. Okay. I'm excited because I'm really ready. I'm ready to watch the continuation of this series. I'm ready to get it done, but I don't think I'll be able to do it in the next 2 days. I don't know, but anyway, so the reality is Hank doesn't have any evidence at all, right? Except for the money. So Walt decides to get that transported. Now, in comes two pretty decent comedians on their own. You have Lavelle Crawford and Bill Burr. These are two notable comedians that have decent roles in this series. They both do something that I think almost everybody would do, besides grabbing it if they saw that amount of money. They lay on it. Just, hey, what does it feel like to lay on a couple billion? Whatever, however much it is. Probably not a couple billion. It's probably. If I had to guess how much that stack is valued at, actual value of that stack, if I had to guess, boy, I want to say probably 30-40 million, something like that. I'm just guessing because I'm going off the sizes of the bags that Pinkman have. Pinkman has 2 bags, and they're both supposedly 2.5. They're both 2.5 million or something like that. And I'm trying to, in my head, imagine those bags stacked up in there. I'm thinking a couple times. So at least, I'm thinking at least 40-50 million, something like that. Maybe I'm off. I don't know, because you just don't know. But they decided to lay on it, which I thought was funny. Walt takes the money, puts it in barrels, because if anybody, money is made out of Money's made out of organic material, which is paper. If you put something like that in the ground, and there's a lot of moisture in the ground, believe it or not, it will mold and rot. So Walt puts it in plastic barrels, digs a big ass hole, throws it in there and covers it back up, and remembers the GPS coordinates for it. Wow. And then he comes back home. But he has cancer. His cancer's come back. He did all that on chemotherapy. Dude's a stud. How they say. He's a stud. Dug that hole and poured it in there, put the money in there, and covered it back up. Oh, man. I'm leaving out probably one of the biggest parts of this. So, while this is happening, you still have this need for meth that's coming from the fidgety lady. I still haven't got her name. The fidgety lady. She was the one supplying Mr. White with the key ingredient to the meth. She's taken on Todd, the guy who shot the kid a couple episodes back and who was working under Mr. White for a little while. She's complaining about the quality of the product, this, that, and the third. So she decides to have the people she's working with killed, and they're killed by Todd and his uncle and all his people. And so basically Todd, he's the cook now, which is interesting. And one thing I want to leave with, I find it funny that Mr. White and Pinkman's whole operation started in an RV, right? This latest operation, even though it has nothing to do with them, is inside a school bus, which people typically convert to people typically take old school buses and convert them into RVs because they're pretty much the same platform. I just find it odd that it's still kind of, even though the story has switched to different players, it's still hovering around that same idea. It's something that works. But theirs was inside this bus that was buried in the ground. You go into a hatch that's covered by a car, which reminds me of so many movies. But I'm excited to see the next episode.